Let this be as free-flowing as possible today, because today we're going to engage in resetting our innate power of creation. So the first step that we have to take in this is to be able to have the capacity to accept or reject any frequencies that pass through our broadcasting system. I'm talking about our mind. Yes, you have one of those. And becoming aware of it and how it works is really the path of liberation. We have to take a lot of things into account, but we'll make this as simple as possible today. Because when we take upon ourselves to choose to accept or reject frequencies, we're simply doing something we always do, and that is, we always choose. When it comes to the frequencies that pass through our broadcast system, many times we're unaware that they're even there and the impact that they're having on us. So, we look and we see that we need to implement certain things. One of them happens to be discernment. Don't you like it when you and yourself feel that you have a discerning capacity? That you're actually choosing to be aware, and in your awareness to accept or reject whatever is there. And what we're talking about is then taking this, implementing it into this vast thing that operates up here in our brain. Our brain. Fascinating thing. Don't lose your head, not even for a minute. You need your head. Your brains are in it. We'll give due credit to Mons Mabley. Some of you remember her. Some of you are saying, who is this character? And character she is, for sure. But the point of this is to bring into this seriousness a balance of humor, so that we realize we're all quite capacitated to engage in this, but we need to take ourselves lightly in doing so. Now, our brains might be considered to be layered. The original brain has been called the reptilian brain, overlaid with the limbic brain, and then over that is the great big neocortex. Now, these are independent, but they're interconnected. We look at the original and we see that this is the realm of instant, no discernment, survival mode. That's the reptilian brain. Instant, no discernment, survival mode. Then over that, the limbic, this generates the feelings and the emotions that respond to our current reality. If we look at this and we see that our current reality is being affected primarily by our survival mode operation, then of course we're going to get those corresponding feelings and emotions that are going to show up to give us a match and to confirm this is what we're experiencing. So often when we find ourselves experiencing anxiety, worry, concern, fear, grief, bitterness, hatred, jealousy, resentment, we can be sure that our limbic brain is operating in conjunction with the dominating reptilian brain. Our neocortex is not even included in the picture, except in various limited ways. Now, let's get a feel here for the neocortex. This part of our brain has infinite abilities. It generates creation, imagination, awareness, logical thinking, objectivity, empathy, development, and most importantly, consciousness. Now, you may think that consciousness is a factor in the other two brains, but not like the neocortex. This allows us to birth into our creative capacities. This allows us to operate by using our faculties of discernment, by using our capacities of getting in there and actually choosing what we're going to align ourselves with frequency-wise and what we're going to set aside. Now, you may think, well, why go through all this? It's already operating and operating quite well. But let's look at the reptilian brain and see what its dominant characteristics are.
Fear.
Dominate. Be dominated. Aggression. Sex, choosing a mate. Rigidity. Obsessiveness. Compulsiveness. Worship. Fear. Submission. And greed. Wow. Okay, we get an idea that all of these are really constricting and limiting. But now let's take a look at our world. From the three brains that all of us have, which is the one that is favored in our collective manifest reality? The vast majority of advertising campaigns, media content, and political propaganda these days are targeting the reptilian response section of the brain in the masses, hence creating a devolution of a collected manifest reality. Of course, there's a little humor in this. There's always the possibility of humor. But do get a picture of this. There was a little segment that appeared recently on Channel 2 News that was really humorous in that it was presented so seriously, which revealed how it is that sometimes we are simply programmed to do what we're told to do without paying attention to what we're doing. Well, this went viral, and it was fascinating, the different responses that it received. But let's look at this. Now that I brought this in, because I see some of you are starting to get really serious. Even with that, you're starting to get really serious. Okay, just a question. Were you taught this basic knowledge about the brain from day one in your human experience here on Earth?
No.
Mm-hmm. Was it a part of the imposed curriculum when you were attending school?
No.
Your nose is very weak. You sound very serious. Do we openly discuss this with our friends and family?
No.
Very good. You're reptilian responsive right now. Okay. And do we talk about this basic concept in mainstream media? No. Okay. So we've been collectively oppressed to operate within the reptilian section of the brain. Our current world is controlled by reptilian brain-dominated authority. So, here we are. How do we reset? How do we reset our innate power of creation? First, of course, it's important to become informed as to how your brain works and how you have the right, the power and the authority to exercise this information, to move from being reptilian brain dominated and enter into, to experience your creative capacities. Of course, the first thing you have to do is start paying attention to what's going on here. When you start paying attention to the frequencies that pass through you and how you tend to automatically identify with them, then you begin to realize, this is where I do it. And it takes persistence. It takes being there. It takes showing up. But the thing of it is that what you're actually doing up here is you are creating new neural pathways in your brain with new vibrational information that is replacing the old patterns, to where what you are actually accomplishing is a conscious resetting of how your brain receives and then transmits what you want as vibrational awareness. It's really fantastic when you consider it. Now, it's a known fact that this is being done deliberately to keep us within the operational field of the reptilian brain. But it is also a known fact by those who are scared to death because they know what we are capable of doing when we choose to become conscious, and in our choosing to become conscious, to actually implement our discernment on what we will and will not allow to be the frequencies by which we choose to live our lives. Now you see, this is very, very powerful. And it's extremely liberating. And it can be just amazing fun. Absolutely amazing fun. Because it takes you out of the fear realm where you're afraid to do anything creative that might not meet with the approval of somebody else. Just like with the singing insects. I heard just in the few seconds afterwards how there were those who were experiencing time traveling while they were listening to the music. It affected each and every one of us according to whatever patterns were dominant in our operating field of brain connectedness. If you open yourself up to this, then you come to also recognize that there is a lot more that exists than your current experience in reality. If you, for one moment, fall into the trap of believing that what you are experiencing now is the only thing possible to you, then you have definitely gone to sleep, and it is now time to wake up. Because you see, you, who you truly are, you are a magnificent being of light. But you're never going to experience your magnificence as long as you stay under the oppressiveness of the reptilian brain program. Now, let's say you start putting this into practice. You start being aware, you start being mindful, you start practicing discernment and discretion, and you start using your choice of what you are going to entertain and not entertain, and you think you'll go to a mall. Well, anyhow. So you're walking through the mall, and all of a sudden, out she steps. And just in case. And that particular store is selling popcorn. And it's using the reptilian image of sex and choice to get you to be distracted and go in there and buy some popcorn, because not only is it sex related, but it's also on sale! My God, that's a win-win! I mean, you remember the toys that you used to get in your Cracker Jacks? Maybe she'll be in there. Okay, so let's Right. Now, shift. And become present. And become aware as you move through life. So that if perhaps you opted to go with a friend who just had to go to the mall, that you would not find the same trigger operating, because you would choose to recognize it as a reptilian-based trigger to keep you under its influence. And you would find that it would then present you with a contrast. You see, contrasts are really wonderful because they give you low frequency manifestations, thoughts, and feelings to compare with what you are beginning to experience through your neocortex liberation. It helps you to more easily and readily make conscious choices about what you are going to do with your life by how you are resetting your creative capacities. Now, it does take persistence. You do have to stay with it. But if you look at the logic of it, you understand. You're actually creating a new set of neural pathways to replace the old ones in your brain. And you're replacing it with a different kind of energy than what you have become used to experiencing life through. So it is something that you and I are doing as we truly put this into practice. And today's message is just looking at it from a slightly different perspective to enhance our attending awareness so that we come to realize this is a fact so far as where we are heading and what lies in store for us as we set aside our reptilian addictions and we open up to new possibilities of being who we truly are becoming. So, put the pieces together, and if you like, use this as a map. I have 3 brains, one on top of the other. And the low dog has been running the show. And now I'm going to shift through, and I'm going to rise to the occasion and begin to operate as Neo and destroy the Matrix. Thank you. For more information about the Metaphysical Church of Enlightenment or the Rodin Foundation, please go to our website at www.rodin.org. If you have been inspired by the revelations shared in these podcasts, please donate to the Rodin Foundation's ongoing efforts to help others help themselves at www.rodin.org/donate.